Hi, I'm Gina Thompson. In this video, I'm going to take you through how to use our ACIDCam plugin panel in Dashboard. This will also apply to box cameras from Hitachi. First thing you need to do is have Dashboard on your computer and access to the network that your ACIDCams are on. This also applies to any Hitachi camera that you might have on your network. Once Dashboard is downloaded, go ahead and open it up. Okay, and then it's going to load up. And then there's two ways to set up a new camera, depending on if it's brand new or if you've had cameras on your computer before. If it's a brand new camera, you're going to go up here to this plus sign, and in the menu system, you'll see Acid Camera under Cameras. So if it's not opened up, you would just click it, and then click Acid Camera. Click Next, and then put in the IP address of the Acid camera that you are trying to connect to, and then the name that you want to give it. I have some fun with my names here in my office, but you can always name it obviously Camera 1, Camera 2, Camera 3, whatever you'd like. Click Finish. Okay, and then the computer is going to start to look for it and then place it into your basic tree view. So you'll see on the left side here that you have slot 0 and slot 1. Slot 0 will always be the camera server. The camera server is going to include the server configuration page. The server configuration page looks just like this. When you double click it, this page comes up. It'll show you the name of the cameras that you have already added to your basic tree view. It'll also give you your IP addresses, the port numbers, and the models. So the models are it's a really nice handy feature because sometimes you might have some Hitachi cameras in there, or you might have some Z50 cameras, Acid Z50 cameras, and it's not always obvious looking at them because they all look very similar. But when they serve themselves up to the dashboard panel, they tell the dashboard what model number they are. So that does help quite a bit. I've used that a lot. Also under the camera server view is basic and RCP. So if you have more than one camera, I only have one camera hooked up right now, but if you had more than one and you went to basic, you would see all the camera names listed across the bottom. So Leela is my camera in my office here, and I can see basic commands. Now if I had a different camera here, I could put it here and have a different panel, and so on and so forth across the bottom and there. Whenever you go to shade the camera, basic's always there. Also, that's something that's always there is RCP. Now RCP mode is something I use a lot because otherwise you'd have to click between each camera up on the top here. What this gives you is the ability to put every single camera on your network that you have connected to Dashboard in one tab. So you only have to open one tab and all your cameras will be listed across the bottom, so you can toggle between the cameras within the same tab. And where that's really nice is when you're shading or when you're setting something up, you can easily be on the same tab. It's not going from one tab to another, and click on camera 1 to camera 2 to camera 3, camera 4. And that's what the RCP view gives you. Now what it does do is it changes the resolution a little bit, so you'll notice that you're losing the down arrow over here on your on-screen menu by doing it this way. If I show you the standard RCP, which is under remote control, you'll see that you have that full down arrow, but you don't have that bottom bar to go from one camera to another. They would each serve up their own tab within Dashboard. Okay, so that is what the camera server does. I'm just going to go ahead and close all the tabs. Now if you don't want to work within all the cameras at the same time and you just want to work individually, then under the slot number you'll see slot 1 is Leela. That's the camera that I just created. You have a couple of different options. You have the default menu system, basic controls, and remote control. Now remote control is all of the RCP controls for that camera. Basic controls is just a larger version of what I showed you on the camera server. So each individual camera can have a large version, and again, you can make this full screen if you'd like to, but for the purposes of this video, I'm going to leave it so that you can still see the basic tree. Again, basic controls are here to give you the ability to only serve up exactly what you want your operator to see and nothing else. Where if you're not serving up this panel, then you'd be serving up this panel to shade the camera. Now the basic menu system, what this is kind of the backbone of the dashboard controller. So if you look here, you're going to get all of the information that the camera is going to give you within the file menu system. So if you were to open up menu system on the ACIDCam, click menu and look at the menu system, these are the menus that you would see. Now, what I'm going to do for the purpose of this overview video, I'm going to go ahead and get out of the default menu view, and I'm going to go back to my remote control panel. Now again, if you lose the panel from the top, you just go over to your basic tree view, you look under your Ross Video ACIDCams, and then you'll see your slot, for me, slot 1, Leela. So I'm going to click on remote control, and now I have my panel. Everything that you see here on the panel is what you would see on a traditional RCP. It's just served up a little bit differently. Now if I'm going to start from the left and move to the right, I'll give you an explanation of what's going on here. So first of all, you have your test patterns. So you have your bars, your test, and your cap. This is really helpful when you're starting to shade. If you want to calibrate your monitors, it does serve up SMPTE bars, so you can go ahead and click bars and the camera will serve up bars for you to calibrate your monitors. The test pattern is also very helpful. You have a gray to white test pattern, and then obviously cap, which is nice when you're setting up your black levels when you're first shading your camera. Now, also on the left side here, you have two columns. So these two columns are what I like to call, whenever I do training, what these columns do is they turn on a function. So if you read through, you see white clip, knee, auto knee, knee saturation, detail knee, and so on. When you click these and it's green, and it becomes this lime green, that means that that particular function of the camera is activated, means that it is turned on. Now, this does not mean anything besides that. If it's off, then it's off. If it's on, then it's on. When you're shading the camera, obviously whatever you're doing in the shading menus that we'll get into in just a minute, though it won't matter what you're doing there unless you activate that function. So for example, if I want HDR on, I have to click HDR on here. Now the type of HDR I want is going to be here. Do I want HDR HLG 600? Do I want HLG 1200? Or do I want HPQ? So it doesn't, if I click these and have this off, see, it grays out. So it actually doesn't even give me the option to select HDR if this is not turned on. In other cases, with gamma, for example, I could sit here and play with gamma all day, but unless I have this particular function of gamma on, then nothing's going to be showing up in my picture or my image. So these two columns are just on-off switches. That's what they function as. Now, to kind of stay on the outside edge here, across the top you'll see it says ACIDCam. If you were working with a Hitachi camera, it would say Hitachi there. And then it says the name of the camera. So this particular camera I named Leela. This is the name of the camera I have here in my office. Your camera might say camera 1, camera 2, camera 3, or whatever you actually named it. This big green dot says that I have connection. So if I were to lose connection to the camera, if my Ethernet went down, if anything happened, this would turn red. Then that means I do not have connection to that camera. And if that's red, I also will not be able to see the rest of these buttons. They will not serve up with me being able to adjust them. I would just be a red button here, and then the rest would be grayed out. The next step here is your auto setup. So auto setup is a really neat feature of the camera that allows you to get about 90% of the way there, depending on how you like to shade. External chart helps with auto setup. So external chart has to be has to be on in order for auto setup to execute. And in order for these two to mean anything to you, you do have to have character display turned on your camera. Otherwise, you won't see the errors or anything else that the camera is trying to tell you, especially the external chart. You won't even see the external chart if you don't have character display on. Same with white shading. You need to have character display on, skin tone, auto white, and auto black. Auto white and auto black don't require a character display, but this is auto white balance and auto black balance. Now the camera does offer tally, so you can run tally through the SDI lines, and it does run from the viewfinder output. So you can use this if you're using a carbonite. You can help. The carbonite will use Dashboard to send tally information to the camera. And then here's our on-screen menu. When this is turned green, that means it's on. Now, word of caution, mentioning that all of this requires the character display. If you're in a show, you probably don't want your character display to be on, because if someone were to accidentally hit on here, or even just click external chart, that would come up over the video. So you definitely want character display off after you're done with your initial setup. It's just something that could cause problems later for someone who doesn't necessarily know what they're clicking around in. So this is your on-screen menu. This allows you to get through the camera menu, but again, you do have to set the IP from the actual camera. Even though you can access it here and adjust it here, it does require a button press from the camera, but this is your on-screen menu. Then iris control and master black. Iris control from your lens requires that you have the lens set in auto mode. So make sure that you have it clicked into the A on the physical lens itself in order for this to be working. Now, if you click auto here, then that just means auto iris. You can set up a zone within the camera of where you'd like auto iris to work within. I don't normally use auto iris, but you can definitely set that up if it's something that you're interested in. Now below that, you have your master blacks. So if you disable these, they look like this. So this just means that it takes an extra click to get to them. Now, if you have operators that you don't want to be messing with the iris or the master black, you can force them to click it twice by disabling it and then they have to click enable to get into it. But that is why we do it, is just to give it an extra click. Master black is down here, so you have your master blacks that you can adjust. Now you have your ND filters on the first page. You have your quarter, your 16th and 1/64th filter. Down here you have your color correction filters on here as well. So these are some places where if you want this, obviously when you're setting up, you do your lighting. You would work with your lighting director to find out what the color temperature is that you're working within, and you can set up your filters to work there for you. Now in this middle section is the name of the camera, the model of the camera, the CPU version that's running on the camera, and then a couple of options, character display and parallel control. So character display, as I told you, shows you anything that you're doing to adjust. So you'll see the menu and you'll see any of these charting options that you're using. When you're done, you turn that off. Parallel control is if you are using an RCP, a physical RCP, in addition to this dashboard panel when adjusting the camera. This allows two connections to the camera at the same time. So it means that you can adjust with the RCP or you can adjust with the dashboard. Essentially what's actually happening is the RCP will be communicating to dashboard and then dashboard will be communicating to the camera. So it's really still just one connection to the camera, but it sort of looks like two because you're using two different items. Your IP address, your subnet mask, and your default gateway is down here. And if you ever wanted to change the background color of this setup, you can. It really only changes this box up here. That becomes helpful if you're working on a camera and you want to know, you're not necessarily looking at the names, but the colors, the different colors based on the different camera. That's just a little extra feature that if you like it, it's there for you. And then tally ID, this is when you're using dashboard, the tally manager within Dashboard, it makes sure that it knows which camera to tell is online. So Tally ID refers back to the tally management system. Now that's the outside part of this panel. On the inside part, we're on the very first menu, which is basic information and filters. The second menu is your master gain and your shutter. Your gamma, HDR, and black stretch are your third menu. Your fourth menu is black gain and flare. So this is just your standard colors, your standard RGB that you would normally have on knobs on your RCP. Knee and white clip are also here. Personally, I really like this. I grew up in the industry learning on physical panels, and a lot of these things were buried in menus, which in some respects maybe that's a good thing because you don't necessarily want people messing with them all the time. But when you're actually setting up a camera for the first time and you're doing a lot of shading, it's so much easier to just come in here and click this menu rather than having to click through 4 or 5 different small buttons on a touch screen on the RCP. Detail is also here. Masking, and you would turn masking on right here, so that's your color. And skin details here, white shading. Settings on the camera. So if you want to set your auto iris gate, meaning how big the area that you want the camera to be sensitive to for auto iris, you can set that here. Same with iris, you can, same with the speed that it adjusts, you can do that here as well. So setup level, what this is for is really neat. It's actually so that you can auto set up the camera using a built-in chart system. I'm going to show this in another video, but for now that is what this does. It gives the camera a baseline for black, flare, and gamma. Now down here, if you're using the camera for virtual situation, that secondary output on the back can either be switched between a standard 422 signal or a ultrachrome HR signal, which is only going to give you the chrominance out of that secondary output. That would be here. You would just select this button and that would make that secondary output chrominance only. I leave it as 422 and I'm using it as a standard box cam. But if you're using it in a virtual set with the Ultrachrome HR here, then you will need to adjust this as well. This is where you set your resolution. So you have option for 1080p all the way down to 720p. This particular camera that I'm using is the H200. As you can see from the model version, I'm using the H200. This is it's progressive and interlace, so it gives you 1080i and 720p in addition to 1080p. The SDI out is your first SDI out, your standard SDI. Your monitor output is that secondary output that you can make into 044 or 422. Since I have it in 422 now, I'm going to leave it at the same resolution, 1080p, and the same scanning rate. The scan rate does have to be the same for both. The last but not least menu is your flashback selection. So we call this an ACIDCam, so as part of a joke we have it as flashback instead of scene files. But that's all this is, they're scene files. So you would save your scene file here. So if I clicked save to memory here, it asks me if I'm sure. Yes, I'm sure. And then over here is where I would reload it. So if I clicked 0, it's going to reload what I saved in flashback 0. So that is a quick overview of what's going on with our ACID camera panel. Please stay tuned. Thank you very much.